Hey everyone, it's Kenji. I'm here in Colombia. It's raining on me, so I'm gonna go inside and we're gonna make some changüa. So I'm in a part of Colombia called Boyacá, which is a little north of Bogota, the capital. It's in the mountains, in the Andes. We're staying out here for New Year's with my family and some friends. And so changüa is this local dish here from Boyacá, also from Cundinamarca, which is another one of the departments here. It's essentially a milk soup that you eat for breakfast. There are a lot of breakfast soups in Colombia, but this one's super simple. You start with a couple of long onions. So these are Colombian long onions, which you can't really find in the US, but if you can't find them, you can use scallions. If you can't find, they have a flavor that's sort of somewhere between the scallions and garlic, I would say. So you can use scallions and a little bit of garlic. In fact, some recipes I've seen also call for garlic. So yeah, scallions and garlic will work. Or if you only have regular onions, that'll work also. The best ingredients to use are the ones you've got right now. In the mountains here, it's very high altitude, 8,000 feet, and people work outdoors a lot. And so people tend to eat very sort of soups for breakfast, heavy lunches, and then very light dinners. So this is one of the two soups that you might have around here. The other one is caldo de costilla, which I've actually made a recipe for, a video and a recipe for. I can link to it, or if I forget to link to it, because I always do, someone else will remind me and then I'll link to it. But that's a soup of beef ribs and potato. All right, so we got our onion. This is going to go straight into a little pot here. Okay, got some cilantro. So in Colombia, when I was growing cilantro in my garden, I was always told that once it bolts, once it starts to produce these little frilly leaves, that it's no good anymore and that the flavor is too strong. But this is the type of cilantro that you're going to find most frequently here in Colombia, is these the little frilly leaves on the ends, and it's used mainly for flavoring broths like this, although also it'll be used for making ají, which is the sort of the Colombian equivalent of like a Mexican salsa, so a hot sauce. Ají means chili. It's the Taino word for chili. But not all, actually, ironically though, not all ajís that you'll find in Colombia actually are spicy, because there's not that much spicy food in Colombia. So even though the word means chili, and it refers to a chili sauce, sometimes you'll find those chili sauces that don't actually have any spice in them. I'm going to put most of the cilantro, actually I'll pull a little bit of the onions and cilantro out for the side, just so we leave it for garnish at the end. All right, so the other ingredients are milk. All right. This is a dish I learned to make from my wife's aunt Gloria, who has taught me a lot of Colombian food. But she taught me to make this one, and I asked her once, like, oh, so do we make it with like stock, chicken stock? And she said, no, just water. So it's just milk and water. It's essentially watered down milk with onions and cilantro. We're going to season it with a little salt. I have made it with stock before, and it tastes just fine. But I think some traditionalists would say that it's incorrect if you make it with stock. So now all we're going to do is heat it up. Okay. I'm cursed. No matter where I go, I have a stove that needs a lighter to light it. So these here are called almohabana, and they're stale. I bought them 2 mornings ago from the local bakery. Almohabana is a bread made with corn, wheat, and cheese. And so what you want is stale bread. So this can also be made with something like a stale baguette, or even stale, any kind of stale bread you have. But you want to get some stale bread. I particularly like it with almohabana because it has that kind of cheesy flavor. You stale bread and kind of break it up, put it in the bottom of a bowl like this. Some people put it in the bottom of the bowl and pour the soup over. Other people just heat the bread up directly in the soup. Actually, maybe I'll heat it up in the soup, just so we can. Because this is actually particularly stale, and I want to make sure that it gets a little bit softer. Sorry about that. All right, so the milk and broth here is about to come to a simmer. Needs a teeny bit more salt. So really all the flavor in it comes just from that onions and cilantro. It's a very simple. Oop, that's no good. I hope we're not running out of gas here. Well, better finish it up. All right. So now I'm going to put my bread in there. Okay. And then I'm going to take a couple of eggs, basically one per portion. I'm going to break them into a separate bowl. And then I'm just going to slide these right into there. And they're going to poach directly in that soup. And you don't really have to worry at all about whether they look pretty or anything. We're just going to let them poach in there, and then you kind of stir them up. You know, often in Colombia, it's very rare that you'll have runny eggs. I like my eggs runny, so I might leave it a little bit liquidy in there, so that when I'm eating the soup, the egg breaks out into it. But a lot of people will just cook it all the way through in there. So however you want to do it is fine. As far as other, so that's the simplest version of the soup. As far as other ingredients go, sometimes people will boil potatoes and put them in here, so you might have some potatoes in there. Another very common ingredient, which we'll do right now, is to add a little bit of cheese. And you add that right at the end so it kind of melts. This cheese I'm using is called queso pera, which usually it's called queso pera, pear cheese, because it generally comes sold in the shape of little pears. But this is the same cheese sold in block form. It's essentially like a double cream, sort of similar. I would say what you can get in the U.S. It's most similar to something like a full fat mozzarella or maybe a jack, something like that. But some kind of semi-soft, full fat cheese. How are we looking? I'm just going to cut into little cubes. You could shred it. You can cut into slices. I'm going to do little cubes and kind of sprinkle them on at the end. All right. I'd say we're just about done. Oh, we got one egg yolk in there. Perfect. Save the other egg yolk for my friend who's having the other portion. The friend who's here with me is actually the guy who suggested doing those snap transitions that I do sometimes. So if you like those transitions, you have him to thank. All right. I think that second one can use a little more bread. So this is a dish, like it is kind of a, I don't know if it's hated or loved. I always thought it's very easy to love because it's so, so mild in flavor and there's nothing really offensive about it. My wife hates it. So when we come to Colombia, I get to eat it with her aunt and she doesn't. Okay, just a little garnish. And that is it. Shall we go outside and eat it? It is beautiful out here. Colombia is an extraordinarily beautiful country. Oh, hi chicken. Hi there. All right. Let's see if our egg yolk is still a little liquid. Yep, just how I like it. Oh yeah, and that cheese gets a little melty, kind of like in French onion soup. Actually, it's got the stale bread like in French onion soup too. All right, everyone. My first video from, I should say my first cooking video from Colombia. Hopefully not my last. All right, guys, gals, non-binary pals, this is Changüa, and Oh, hi, bud. And I will see you. Oh, maybe I'll give him a little taste. Hamon is not here with us, but this guy who we've nicknamed Bear Dog. Here. Good boy. All right. All right, guys, gals, non-binary pals. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.